Lagina ladies and libertinous lads, tabulate your togas, fill your pignati to the brims, and you can take this road or that road. You know, they all lead to the same place.
All roads lead to Talk Tull to me.
That's it. That's the one.
There it is.
Welcome back to the podcast. I am Omen Thomas Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together, we are the Feckless Momes.
And this, my little cheat sheets for Latin just to get through Latin 1, is Talk Tull to me.
A second-style symposium in the Penaria of prog rock, in which Nymphium Nick and Otium Omen will hear suits from each and every Thyrsus-waving track that Rytonic rock band Jethro Tull have ever brought before the Senate. We will honor Scott Hammond's hefty hippocampus, grab David Goodyear's grisaille graffito, and form a fresco depicting Floriano Paul's fosses. And if we can donate enough denarius, crack into the cubiculum, and brave the boisterous Bacchante, we may just have a cathera's chance in Orcus to plead our case to the paterfamilias of the Piccolo, the admirable Amphora of Wonder, the Aureus of the Accelerando, the hero of Hortus, Ian Apotrophaic, Ian Apotropaic Anderson.
What does that word mean? So tell me that it was worth that struggle.
It means having to do with the magic of a thing.
Oh,
Like the innate magic of an item.
what a great word.
I believe that's what it means.
It just means a seashell.
It's a seashell. It's a magic seashell. It is having the power to avert evil influences or bad luck.
Very cool.
There you go. Which is Ian Anderson all over.
I mean, if anyone is the physical embodiment of the evil eye, it's Ian Anderson.
That's why he looks like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nick, welcome back. Here we are at the podcast.
Yes, fancy running into you here, Omen.
We've got to stop meeting like this.
How convenient. What will our wives say?
And we have the chance to breathe the good air and talk about the good Tull.
That we do. Yet again, we are we're ripping through this Ian Anderson solo album, the last of his solo albums. We're just about a quarter of the way through. We're here to talk Enter the Uninvited today, which is chapter 3 in your hymnals.
And we have rounded this album up to be Tull enough.
Tull perfect is the enemy of Tull enough.
You must be this Tull to be on the podcast.
You're not Tull enough.
So I just had my Norwegian friends here in Florida, and they informed me that Tull in Norwegian means very stupid.
Really?
And I was like, that's perfect.
Wow.
And then I tried to explain what Feckless Momes meant, and they said,
Yes, indeed.
yes.
That's so crazy.
I thought that was really, really appropriate.
Yeah. That makes me happy.
A Tulle skull is a stupid skull.
Stupid head.
A stupid head, which is, what we... Hey, I resemble that comment.
What we strive to be.
That's right.
Yeah.
Today, we are following the tracks of human history forward to one of everyone's favorite empires.
Yeah. The Byzantine Empire, the
so close.
Mongol Empire.
Oh, a little less close.
Empire Records.
Oh my gosh, you were so close with all of them. I can't believe you didn't get it. It's the Roman Empire.
It's Roman. They be Roman.
They do be Roman, and actually that's the topic of this song. Chapter 3, Enter the Uninvited.
Little known fact, Omen cannot enter your house unless you invite him.
Because I don't know where it is. Nick McGill.
Omen Thomas Sade.
These days, everyone is saying, oh, this is so-and-so's Roman Empire, when they say, like, oh, this is something that they think about a lot. Have you heard that?
I heard, like a year or two ago, I heard this absurd thing going around the internet. It can't be true that, like, every man thinks about the Roman Empire every
day,
every minute or something, like every couple of minutes. Like, that's insane. No, that cannot be true.
They were mistaking the Roman Empire for sex.
That's it. I mean, I don't blame them for making that mistake.
Very similar.
Yeah. Where does the radish go?
In Londinium. But yeah, it's interesting. I would say, in a way, Tull is our Roman Empire, to use the modern parlance.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, judging by the liveliness of the Discord chat, we are not the only ones.
I do think that people, it's funny because I think, like, oh yeah, the Roman Empire. I know a fair bit about that. I've seen some ruins. I've read a little history.
I've watched Gladiator and Rome.
I've watched Gladiator. Yeah. Actually, I have not watched Gladiator. No, I watched Gladiator. I didn't see Gladiator 2. So I don't know what happens to the Roman Empire.
Oh, no.
Is it still there?
Let me do a quick Wikipedia check. Oh, Omen, spoiler alert.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Now I know how it ends. But I feel like the Roman Empire is one of those things where you're like, yeah, I know about the Roman Empire. And then you realize how little you know about the Roman Empire.
Right. I think it's like, in a sense, it's like the American education system when it comes to history. Like,
sure.
We cover the Revolutionary War, the Civil War, and World War II, and then everything else is just kind of schmeh.
I mean, yeah, I feel like we do a little bit of the ancient civilizations.
I'm just thinking in terms of what American history is.
Oh, I see.
It's very pinpoint moments, and then everything else is broad strokes.
And that, the American experience, the American history is so small in comparison to all of the Roman Empire.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
So, to get us in to this topic, Ian starts with what I like to call the sleep podcast drone sound. Some binaural beats.
Yeah.
Just for 5 or 10 seconds, and then we get the piano starts doing some arpeggios. Over top of that, we have Florian on the guitar stinging out just very sparse notes here and there.
Yeah, very ambient, very nice. I like it a lot. The addition of the guitar in particular is really nice. I like it a lot.
It's fun. I mean, I love a sleep podcast.
I know people who fall asleep to our podcast.
We are a sleep podcast. I am a sleep podcast. I think it sets up that ethereal, misty, what's coming next? What is this?
Yes. Not quite the feeling of like the mists of Avalon per se, but still like this idea of what's going to be coming out of the mist and what is the result of that when that happens. Oh my God, look at all those centurions. What do we do?
It reminds me of on a video game when you have the fog of war turned on, and so you can't see past a certain point.
What video game do you play that has the fog of war, Omen?
Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing does not count.
In hard mode. I think I'm maybe thinking of Wargate. Warcraft from 2002.
Yeah, the original one, not the MMORPG. Yeah.
I don't know what that means, and I agree.
I know.
About 45-ish seconds in, we get slapped upside the head with very much drums.
Very much drums.
And very much flute.
And bass. Bass is in there. Everybody kicks in like at that moment. Yeah.
And that concludes with this incredibly militaristic drum rhythm.
Yes.
And it's pretty overwhelming in a way.
Yes, it's very powerful given the soft, sweet mystery that leads you into this. All of a sudden, you're punched by the Roman Empire square in the bread box.
Yes.
And you just have to watch as they march by.
You try to grab their hair, but they shaved it. Oh, no.
What were we thinking?
And then we have Ian shouting, maybe with some other people.
Yes, yeah, there are multiple voices in there.
Space, place, face, halt, block, stop. Sorry, we're coming in. And then the song starts immediately. The lyrics, I would, the more sung lyrics start directly there forth.
Mm-hmm. I do really like the tune of the singing in this song. It's not lilting per se, but it does kind of have this kind of up and down roller coaster feel.
Yeah, it seems to be in mostly 2-line segments. And then I'm butchering it. And then we have some wow from the instrumentation coming in, maybe some organ sounds.
Sure do.
It keeps it breaking up for us, but then we also have the section where he goes into that chant.
Yes, go back into it, yeah.
Old Corinium dum da rubbin. That comes back in every verse.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's a very unusual song structure.
It is. I do think it works, though, with the idea of the song itself.
Yes, I agree.
It's nice because, I mean, even though it's the third song off of this album, it's a nice opportunity to kind of break up the flow already, to not let us get too comfortable in our oral journey on this song.
Yeah. I'm trying to find some actual Roman poetry.
Poman Roetry.
Because I feel like we know this from having the benefit of future sight.
Being in the future.
Of being in the future, and therefore being able to see the future. But I feel like it wouldn't shock me if Ian had taken some of the form of Roman poetry and applied some of those sounds to this piece.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't know where to begin to try and find it to match up, but I would not be surprised at all, no.
Gratia cum nymphis gemmiiscus sorberus audet, ducite nuda choros, immortalia ne speris monen annus et alum, quae rapit horum deum. I mean, of course, Latin would have had many different forms, and so it's hard to know which one.
Yeah.
Which one Ian may have taken inspiration from, but I'm sure, given his education, that he encountered some of the Latin poets in his schooling.
Oh yeah. Vicar John said that he would have had either Greek or Latin. I mean, in grade school.
That was very very standard back then.
Not finishing school. Public school? No.
Startering school.
Private school. One of those.
One of the schools.
However England does it. Yeah.
Yeah. The rhythm is interesting. His voice is very, very, very gruff, especially in that first verse. He's singing in kind of a not very melodic way. And really, there's very few... We don't have any Ian Pretty singing in this song.
No, but it's also not like goat voice, that we've had in the past. And it's not like particularly like really gruff affected either. I think this is just the sound of Ian's voice at this point when he like
isn't putting something on it.
Yeah, when he doesn't try to put a little English on it. This is him. And that's great. I don't mind it at all.
Oh no, and I think it fits the subject matter, it fits the style of the song. Mm-hmm. It's sort of very functional, much like the Roman Empire.
Yes. Function over
fashion?
Fashion? Is that fashion over function? Is that a phrase?
It's a phrase that you just said.
Yeah.
I think we say form follows function.
Yes. But isn't there something over function or function over something?
Style over substance. You're thinking of Paul Hollywood.
When am I not thinking of Paul Hollywood?
His cake critiques.
His baby blue eyes that I want to swim in.
Yes. We have some really great synth coming in and out of this song that is very, very fun.
Yeah, whether it's that kind of mysterious, like in the beginning, what we hear, that kind of just like airy sting, or tweedles and twaddles. We get tinkles at, I know it was before then, but one of the really like prominent points is about 208.
Willie Conker were cut out in Doomsday pages, marks on number.
You clearly hear like a synth key beneath it, but there's also, I think it's also playing like a triangle or a bell sound with it, but I think it's part of the synth.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it is really interesting.
It could be, or I mean, that could also be a percussion.
It could, but I don't think so.
You don't think it is?
I don't have reason to tell you other than it just feels too...
It feels right.
It just feels right. It fits in there just right.
Okay, so we have this main flute riff that is throughout the piece, and I feel like that is a riff that we hear in other places in this album.
Do 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 do.
Yes. I feel like we have that at different points in this album.
I don't think we've heard it so far.
Maybe it comes back later.
Maybe. I don't know the album well enough, so it's going to have to be something to keep an ear out for, that we will inevitably forget about.
Exactly. Time signature.
Oh gosh.
I think it is very mostly in 4/4, but I also am of the belief that there is a repeated dropped note.
Ooh.
At various transition points, which results in a measure of 3/4. But only once in a while, kind of as a transition, because there's something strange going on. It's either that or the actual rhythm of the melody and what they're playing is so deceptive that it gets ahead of itself and then creates extra space, and so it feels like there's a dropped part of a measure.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
But something silly is going on.
Yeah. Do you reckon it's like it's part of the structure? It's in a specific point every single time in that structure?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do think so.
It's interesting.
There's something about when Florian is playing and they're transitioning back from the interverse back to the verse.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhere in there.
Okay. Yeah. We get some fun shaker at 1:30.
Old Perineum, Gubanorum, Guru, Vernum, Cantiocorum, Old Londinium offers voice in Market Square and open forum.
Very solid driving, steady, kind of pushes us through the whole thing. We do have those moments where we stop and get the Centurion Praetor. I forget what the general is of the army.
Generale?
Yes, that's it. Where the head of the unit will just stop and yell at his Centurion units, and tell them to stop playing grab ass and get back in line, and then the march continues.
Oh yeah, interesting. Like a little discipline break.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's just First Centurion. I think that's maybe what I'm thinking of.
Oh.
Yeah.
It seemed, they had organizational structures.
And honestly, that's probably what got them pretty far in the end.
Yes. So leading out, we have a section where Ian is playing some riffs. Sometimes we have Florian coming in and doing a backup harmony to those riffs, maybe like a fifth above or a third above. And then we have synth at the end, which is led into by a single cymbal hit, which I think is hilarious.
that super quick fade out ending is very, very jarring.
Yes, it is.
And I like it. It's good. It's a great way to pull the rug out from under you after you've been stuck in kind of this marching rhythm this whole time.
Yeah, and it ends with the nightmare version of the Sleep Podcast. If you want to have bad dreams, you listen to that synth at the end.
Exactly. And that is also what our podcast is.
Yes. Anything else musically to note?
No, that really cool fade out was my last bit of note there.
Does that lead into Puer Ferox?
You know, that's what I was thinking. Puer Ferox Adventus. Yeah, I can see that flowing together, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Nick, welcome to the halfway point of the show.
Oh, man, thank you for having me. And thank you for having me. I have taken off my boots, put on my slippers.
Yes.
I am ready for a foot scrub.
Let's do it.
This, firmer. I'm ticklish. I have us an email that came to us about the last song? No, from Kismet in Suburbia, this is referencing.
Oh, golly, last album.
From Sweet, Sweet Folky Phil, as usual, the folkiest of Phils.
Very folky.
Thank you for folking around with us. Here we go. Phil writes in saying the subject of the email is mulling on mulberries.
Ooh, yeah, we did discuss mulberries a bit.
We have, hi, Nick and Omen, good morning, Weathercocks. I just listened to the Kismet and Suburbia pod, and like both of you, I'm certain that the repeated mention of various mulberry addresses cannot be random and meaningless. And like both of you, I haven't been able to make definite sense of it. However, I have a theory. When I think about mulberries, two things come to mind. The production of silk and a folk song, naturally.
Oh, sure.
The leaves of the mulberry tree are the food of the silkworm, and therefore intrinsic to the production of that luxury fabric.
Wow.
Yeah, right? In the early 1600s, King James ordered thousands of mulberry trees to be planted in England, hoping to establish a domestic silk industry and combat the high cost of silk from Asia.
Wow.
However, he mistakenly imported black mulberry trees instead of the white mulberry, which is the one that silkworms actually eat.
What a knob.
As a result, someone didn't do their research. Some intern got really fired for that one out of a cannon.
Yeah.
As a result, silk production in England never took off. Talk about making a silk purse from a sow's ear. While some of King James's original black mulberry trees still grow in England to this day, the cold climate here would not have suited the more exotic and delicate white mulberries. Which brings me to the folk song. I've no idea if this is sung in the US, but in England, Here We Go Round the Mulberry Bush, yes, it is a common nursery rhyme, is a traditional children's nursery rhyme and is registered on the Roud Index. So it is officially a folk song.
Oh, yeah.
It uses the repeated lyrics of its title together with a list of mundane practices, washing, brushing, cleaning, etc., to teach children about ... I don't know, hygiene, conformity, boring necessity.
Right.
The lyrics include allusions to marching around the titular bush on a cold and frosty morning while washing faces, brushing teeth, combing hair, etc. Could this weather reference be a satirical sneer at King James's frost-blighted silk production efforts? Maybe. Nursery rhymes are often used to smuggle social commentary, the meaning of which is now lost in the mists of history or in the hists of mystery. Is Mr. Anderson suggesting that the various branches of Geraldic life all conclude with going around the mulberry bush of routine and mundane normality? Their fractured pasts may differ greatly, but ultimately, the Geralds now are much the same, while their ultimate fate, their kismet, is identical, as it is for us all. I don't know, but it's a reasonable working hypothesis, until Ian cares to explain himself properly, and don't hold your breath for that to happen.
Right.
Keep on keeping on. It's been an amazing feckless voyage through the Tullniverse, and I'm sad to think that soon it will be complete, but hopefully new journeys and new pods lie ahead for all of us.
I think there's something I had not been aware of the history of the mulberry when it comes to England and King George.
Yeah, really interesting.
What year was that?
That was 1600s, early 1600s. Was he after Liz won?
It would have been.
Must have been, yeah. She was until 1603.
It also seems, just on some preliminary research, it seems like the Romans actually also brought the tree to England, to the UK at various points, because it was medicinal and valued for its fruit. So
yeah,
to me, it's the commonness of the mulberry. If King James really was like, look, we're going to have this everywhere so we can get silk production up, maybe there's a sense of the mulberry is ubiquitous. It is wherever you are in the UK, there's probably a mulberry tree, that it is a sign of people having lived there and continuing to live there.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the deepness, the depth with which the history kind of ties into all of, like he's saying, is it a failure of all the various Geralds to get off the ground associated with the mulberry bush? Who knows?
Yeah.
Very fun.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, we can all agree that it's pretty gosh darn rare that Ian just picks a lyric because it works.
Yes.
Yes. Like, this man puts time and thought, his extensive knowledge of so much into these lyrics, and is willing to do the research to get there. I mean, as we've seen with so many of his albums.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm certainly with you, Phil. I don't think it's coincidental. Whatever it is, I don't think it's coincidental.
It's because mulberry has so many good rhyming options. Dull fairy.
Small but hairy.
Small but hairy. Yep. Mulled Gary.
I will have some mulled Gary, thank you.
Here you go.
I thought you'd never ask. Ooh, hot.
Ooh, anything else for the half here?
No, that was it. As always, thank you, Folky Phil, for bringing that to our attention. We are ignorant in a lot of the things when it comes to England, and we appreciate your insight and your expansive cranial folds.
Nick, welcome to the second part of the program. Here we are going to discuss the inscrutable lyrics of this song. We will scrutinize the inscrutable lyrics of this song, as impossible as that seems.
How much can we scrut in the next 15 to 20 minutes?
How much scrut would scrut if it would scrut scroots?
Could scrut scroots.
Could scrut scroots. Well, let's find out. The title is Enter the Uninvited.
Yes.
It's very funny.
It is, yeah.
Because that could almost be a descriptor for any movement of humanity in its entire history.
It's true, yeah. I mean, aside from these very few and unfortunately ultimately tragic instances where people just like wanted to be where they are and not be bothered, for the most part, a lot of the history of mankind is moving to find a better place to live, essentially, or to set up. And it just so happens that the Roman Empire is like the biggest footprint, the biggest, most textbook example of that. And,
I think you're right that for a lot of history, there's the sense of, we'll move so that we have a better chance, or, it's resource scarcity and abundance. But the Romans were doing something a little bit different. I think they were the first big example that we have of somebody saying, actually, we're going to extend as far as we can and condense the resources to a central point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All roads lead to Rome.
Yeah.
Because that's where they're going for taxes.
Yeah. And ultimately, it keeps them in control if everyone is dependent on them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we start with this amazing chant. It sounds like a series of orders. Space, place, face, halt, block, stop.
Space, place, face, halt,
I would be convincible that those are actual orders, translated orders, from a centurion legion.
Yeah.
It sounds like the sort of things that you might say to a group of soldiers.
Yeah, definitely.
And then contrasted with that, sorry, we're coming in.
Sorry, we're coming in.
Pretty cheeky of, yes, I've just marched hundreds of thousands of soldiers to your front door. Beg your pardon, ma'am. Ever so
Yes.
sorry. We'll be coming in now.
Yeah. And the Romans got everywhere. I mean, the height of the Roman Empire extended through Eastern Europe into parts of modern-day Russia, I think.
Yeah.
As far as Scotland, or at least northern England, the southern shores of the Mediterranean, anything that was involved with the Mediterranean, they kind of had influence over all of it.
Yeah. The eastern shores of the Mississippi, even. No?
I don't. Maybe you're thinking of the European Mississippi.
It's the European Mississippi. That's right. That's
also
right.
called the Danube.
Which is right next to the European Alabama.
That's right. That's called Croatia. No, so we Roman legions wend our way through ever-widening roads of empire.
We Roman legions wend our way through ever-widening roads of empire.
It's very kind of Ian to just sort of give us what the song's about right off the bat.
Yeah, right. It's this idea of they weren't being secretive about it. They weren't couching it in some sort of false idea of, oh, we're not taking over. We're just spreading the good word. They were just like, yes, this is our land now. This is us. We are taking this.
Yeah. And in some places they did, they had different systems. Some of them were full scale. We are in charge now. Here's somebody, here is a Roman officer who's in charge of this space, and everybody reports to him. Mm-hmm. And in some places, I believe it was more, hey, we're going to benefit economically off of this place, but you can keep your religion and your leaders because it's actually easier to control you.
Yeah. If they can agree to that, then you don't need to invest as much into that area. And
that's right.
Of course, if they fight back or whatever, you certainly have the manpower to go and make an example of them.
Yes. Long straight tracks to new horizons, gilded in soft tinted campfire.
Long straight tracks to new horizons, gilded in soft tinted campfire.
Long straight track, isn't that?
Oh.
Old straight track. I think it's old straight track.
Old straight track. Yeah, that's funny though. I didn't clock that.
On Mayday is the great day sung along the old straight track.
It got to be an allusion to it, I would think, in some sense.
There's something really, about the aesthetic of the centurions. These soldiers who would go out into the edges of the empire to expand the empire.
Mm-hmm. That
there's something very kind of appealing about it. The sense that like, you're far from home. What?
Appealing about a one master race just taking over everything. Omen, is that it?
No. I mean the vibes of it, the aesthetic. This notion that like
hot oily men. Yes, I get it. Keep going.
when you read about the centurions who were in Britain, for instance, they still were Roman. They still believed themselves as Romans.
Yeah.
They had contact with Rome. They had the roads so the letters could get back and forth. But they were in this outpost, and there was that kind of tension between, if I'm going to be here for 25 years, how native do I go?
Right.
Quotation mark.
Yeah.
Versus how much do I stay a Roman? And there's something interesting about, being in the middle of nowhere with nothing but a little campfire and thinking like, yes, I am part of Rome, the greatness of Rome.
Yeah. Yeah, because they gave you a jerkin and a spear.
And I'm jerking it.
And I'm jerking it. Because the spear has like property of Rome on it. You're now a Roman, yeah.
If lost, please return to Rome.
Please kill the man carrying this and return to Rome.
And I feel like I'm struggling with my lack of knowledge of the Roman Empire. I'm just sort of like, there's just bits and pieces that I feel like I remember.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that he pulls out that detail of like, the soft tinted campfire, not talking about the glories of the Roman Colosseum and whatnot.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's the two sides of that Roman Empire, which is the masses marching and then Everybody sits around a campfire, cooks their food, stays warm on this nasty cold weather that the mulberries will not survive in, that kind of thing.
What is Corinium dubanorum?
Dobanorum.
Old Corinium Dubanorum.
Yes, what is that?
Corinium Dobanorum was a Romano-British settlement in Cirencester in the present-day English country of Gloucestershire.
County of Gloucestershire. You said country.
Oh, did I? No, it was a country. Its second century walls enclosed the second largest area of a city in Roman Britain. It was the tribal capital of the Daubani and is usually thought to have been the capital of the Diocletian-era province of Britannia Prima.
Huh. Right. They've got an amphitheater.
I mean, when in Rome.
When bringing Rome to Britain.
The Duovernum Cantiacorum was a town and hill fort in Roman Britain at the site of present-day Canterbury in Kent.
Oh.
It occupied a strategic location on Watling Street at the best local crossing of the Stour, which prompted a convergence of roads connected to the ports.
This is a good reminder for me that this album is not just an overview of all of human civilization. It is an overview of human civilization from the point of view of Britain.
Yes, right. Yeah.
And so, of course, we are in a British perspective seeing the Romans coming in.
Right.
And establishing these cities, these forts, etc. Bold Londinium, I can take a whack at that.
What is Londinium?
Bold Londinium.
Well, actually know that it's London.
Yes.
Because it was one of the things that Boadicea burned to the ground.
Mm.
She was a British or Celtic, however you want to describe her, war leader and tribal leader, and she burned what was London, Londinium at the time, to the ground, to the extent that if you dig down deep enough in modern-day London, you will find a layer of ash.
Wow.
And char. She really did it.
Wow. Yeah. It's also known as Roman London. It was the capital of Roman Britain during most of the period of Roman rule. Most 21st century historians think that it was originally a settlement established shortly after the Claudian invasion of Britain on the current site of the city of London.
Huh.
I do find it slightly interesting that they kept that the capital as like the main place to go. I mean, not that the infrastructure was totally built up, but it had a head start, so I guess it kind of makes sense too.
Well, there's also the fact that it's on where it's situated in England.
That's true, yeah.
In the UK, it has the river, so it makes it a sensible place for a settlement.
Right. You don't want to pick some other place to spite the Romans. Just to spite them.
Exactly.
Because you'd also be cutting off your nose to spite your face at that point.
Exactly. Yeah. In Market Square and Open Forum.
In Market Square and Open Forum.
There's also that undercurrent or overcurrent. From a modern perspective, one could imagine the Romans thinking to themselves, yes, we are bringing civilization to these savages.
Yes, that is... I mean, I'm pretty sure that is a fairly common lie that invaders tell themselves.
Right. No matter what the actual reason that they're there for, which is always power.
Right.
And control and resources.
Mm-hmm.
There is that element of, oh, yes, well, we're proper and we're civilized and they don't know what they're doing. And so we have to show them the way.
Yeah. Unless you're just a straight up despot like Putin. Just saying, I will take this land.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but even then, he's saying, well, they in the Ukraine they have Nazis and we have to flush them out and we have to restore. We're bringing our good culture to them.
That wasn't the excuse for Latvia. They just said this is ours.
Oh yeah, well that was
yeah,
that
was a different time.
Angles, Saxons, Danes, and Normans, on the whole, a curve of learning.
Angles, Saxons, Danes, and Normans, on the whole, a curve of learning.
So those are different groups which have come into the geographical area of Britain at various points.
Yeah.
Why do we say on the curve of learning?
Because they didn't survive, so whoever came in next learned from their mistakes and made some advancements, but then failed in another way. And the next one came in and learned from the others' mistakes and worked their way up the line, I think. It's the learning curve.
Or is it each of these groups brought a different take on what it is to be British? Because those groups did survive. They were incorporated into the local populations.
Yeah, but you don't call them the inhabitants of England, you know. They have their seeds in history, but that's it, just like the Romans do.
Right.
So you're saying that it's a learning curve for us as modern day people to learn of the history of England, like the real hard history?
I think it's more that, you know, as soon as people started, back in the Doggerland days, when people started inhabiting Britain, they had to figure out, well, what are we? And each new group would bring its new identity and change what it is to be a Briton.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And bring new technologies and, you know, like you're saying, new advancements.
Yeah.
Some of which would be successful and some of which would be a mulberry tree.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't know. It's a bit of an odd phrase.
Yeah. Yeah, it's because it rhymes with burning.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
That's it.
Alfie, great in spirit, battle on Somerset levels, left cakes a-burning.
Alfie, great in spirit, battle on Somerset levels, left cakes a-burning.
Who is Alfie?
Alfred the Great was the
Oh.
king of the West Saxons from 871 to 886. I'm assuming that is the reference.
So already we're really moving away from the Romans. We're saying this isn't so much a song about the Roman Empire. This is a song about all of the conquering groups who came to Britain over all of the centuries.
Right, because remember, it's Enter the Uninvited, 43 CE to 410 CE to 1960. So it spans this massive chunk of time. Yeah.
Okay, this is making a lot of sense now. So he did something at Somerset. He probably burned some things down. Will he conquer?
William the Conqueror.
Oh.
Sometimes called William the Bastard.
And a conquer is a horse chestnut.
A horse chestnut, yeah, used for the game Conkers,
Right.
which derived from from earlier games that were actually called Conquerors.
Right, because you were trying to conquer each other's conquerors.
Yeah. And they initially came from a French game where they used snail shells, which they also think it might have come from the French word for shell, which is conque.
Oh, yeah.
Conch.
Conquerors.
Yeah.
Concheur.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So William the Conqueror, Willie Conquer, work cut out in Doomsday Pages marks our number.
Willie Conquer, work cut out in Doomsday Pages, marks our number.
Yes, the Domesday Pages.
Oh, Domesday.
Yeah, also Doomsday. It's a manuscript record of the Great Survey of much of England and parts of Wales, completed in 1086 at the behest
By
of William the Conqueror.
Yes.
The manuscript was originally known by the Latin name Liber de Wintonia, meaning Book of Winchester, where it was originally kept in the royal treasury. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle states that in 1805, the king sent his agents to survey every shire in England to list his holdings and dues owed to him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Just to keep people accountable.
Yeah.
And get his taxes.
A massive amount of work to do that.
Yeah.
And probably the first actual survey of any country in that part of the world, at least.
Of any big meaning, yeah, for sure.
It goes on, sheep and pigs amongst the hundreds, fat tithes and taxes to encumber.
Sheep and pigs amongst the hundreds, fat tithes and taxes to encumber.
So it sounds like he wasn't just counting people, human beings, he was counting livestock.
Oh, yeah, because depending on how much you have, it'll affect how much you pay me, your king.
Taxes, yeah. It was really all about the tax.
Yes.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then it seems that we skip forward about 1,000 years or so.
We jump a bit, yeah.
Pizza Palace, Burger Kingdom, Cocaine Cola, Nylon Stockings. Playboy, Newsweek, Time and Life, G.I. Joe, Spam, Fritter, Shocking.
Pizza Palace, Burger Kingdom, Cocaine Cola, Nylon Stockings. Playboy, Newsweek, Time and Life, G.I. Joe, spam fritters shocking.
It's been interesting in the last, since I've been alive, to visit England and to see we've talked about this a bit, the Americanization of Britain.
Mm-hmm.
And people, from the UK talk about this, that there's been such a dominance of American culture, foods, films,
Mm-hmm.
styles that has overwhelmed Britain. And it's funny that, we jump over the bit where the Brits were the uninvited doing their, well, I know we'll get to that later, but we skip over the British Empire era of things in this song and just go to the next bit where Britain was being influenced culturally.
Mm-hmm.
And we arrive at, I believe, Ian is, in his subtle, oh so subtle way, drawing a connection between the Roman Empire and the Empire of America.
Yes. Yes, we're getting there.
Cold War sparring, Langley spooking, Grosvenor Square, the London station.
Cold War sparring, Langley spooking, Grosvenor Square, the London station.
So there is a Langley in Berkshire. It is an area of Slough, but I don't think that's what they're referring to.
Isn't Langley, Virginia, where the CIA is headquartered?
It's the Air Force Base where the CIA is, and one of the most oxymoronic things ever, the George Bush Center for Intelligence.
Ah, I saw some of his paintings recently.
Any good?
Nope.
Yeah, okay.
But lots of them.
Yeah.
Grosvenor Square?
Yeah, so Grosvenor Square, there was a former U.S. embassy, sometimes known as Grosvenor Square, but there is also a Grosvenor Square in England. It's in the Mayfair district of Westminster, Greater London.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Elvis hips and Monroe lips, John Birch against United Nations.
John Birch was an anti-communist,
John Birch Society.
social conservative, American right-wing political activist. And so the phrase John Birch against United Nations makes me think that he was against the United Nations.
But yet again, cracking that conker open.
Yep. Yeah, really interesting. And it seems like he had a lot. He was operational in the 1950s, 1930s and 40s, but seems like his influence affected things after him. The John Birch Society, became a hot spot for things like anti-civil rights and whatnot.
On the front page of jbs.org, what is the John Birch Society? Americans committed to, defending our God-given rights, protecting liberty, upholding the Constitution, promoting less government, preserving America's founding values.
Sounds like racism.
And sexism and bigotry and hate.
Yeah. And isolationism.
Yeah.
Good thing that none of those things are influencing our society today. Oh, we skipped Elvis hips and Monroe lips.
Oh, Elvis shaking his hips was seriously controversial.
Yeah.
When he started doing it on television, and he was kind of like one of the real big, actresses and actors were like dreamy and kind of like it was understood, but Elvis was like sexualized, like really sexualized.
Yeah, he brought sexual movements to stage.
Yeah.
And they were both Americans, so that. And
Marilyn Monroe, yeah.
Yeah, Marilyn Monroe, her lips. I love that he's contrasting, here's the CIA, here's this, radical right-wing American group, and here's Elvis and Marilyn Monroe.
They are exports of the U.S., sexiness.
Bubblegum and Google Bum, Facebook Frenzied Social Network, Apple Mac and iPhone app, Gibson Fender Sonic Fretwork.
Bubblegum and Google Bum, Facebook Frenzied Social Network. Apple Mac and iPhone app, Gibson Fender Sonic Fretwork.
I mean, it just seems kind of like a list of American influences that hit England, that hit the UK hard.
And now he's present day. You know, we were talking Cold War and Elvis, and now we're talking like time of writing song.
Yes, exactly. Which was 2012, 2013, 14?
Somewhere 14, I think.
It's funny that you can date it just by which TV shows he mentions.
Yes, right.
Star Trek, well, that could be any Star Trek. There's been a number of them. Baywatch, well, it ran for a long time.
It's a bit old, yeah.
Friends, Sopranos, West Wing, Mad Men, Walking Dead.
Star Trek, Baywatch, Friends, Sopranos, West Wing, Mad Men, Walking Dead.
Okay, we're very, very comfortably in the 2012, 2014.
I'm shocked Breaking Bad isn't in there.
Well, that was about drugs. I'm sure you never watched it.
But it was still a show.
Yeah, that's true. Walking Dead there is a familial connection here, which we see here in a moment. Officer Rick will turn the trick and banish zombies from our heads.
Officer Rick will turn the trick and banish zombies from our heads.
Officer Rick, son-in-law, Officer Rick.
Yep, lead character of The Walking Dead is sort of the man who knows what's up in the show, and he kills a lot of zombies.
Yes, he banishes them from our heads.
Which is interesting. I find it funny that the last invasion that is mentioned is the zombie invasion.
That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, we've got the layer right above that is the media and television invasion, you know, the
cultural invasion.
Yeah, that was like the start of that era. So he lists like Star Trek and Baywatch and Friends. Those were cotton candy shows, but then he gets into Sopranos, West Wing, Mad Men, Walking Dead. That's when television was like really starting to get into television as the art of media. You know, it wasn't just dedicated to movies anymore. It was like we can put time and devotion and creativity and really build stories and characters in here. It doesn't have to be like a half an hour soundbite.
People have talked about that era as being the golden age of television, or even now as being the golden age of television. I'm sure historians will debate it fiercely.
Yeah, I think it's more difficult to say it now because streaming and all of the different platforms has made it really difficult to just like to have something so solid. But back then there was barely any streaming.
It was just at that point where you could stream things, but the streaming networks weren't the major players.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting.
This was appointment television. That's what it was called. You would say, television. I watch my show every Thursday night at 9 p.m.
Yeah. The statute of limitations is now long past on this. When I had my second year in Paris, you were horrified to discover that I didn't have Netflix or access to anything. And so you sent me off with a hard drive, which was about the size of a human child.
It was big. The hard drives were big back then, yeah.
And it had a number of shows on it, including The Walking Dead.
Oh, did I put Walking Dead on there?
Yes. Wow. I watched several seasons of it, and then I had to stop because I found it too scary.
You're such a wuss when it comes to scary stuff. That's so funny.
I didn't mind watching it, but then I would have like waking nightmares. If I would have to like walk in a dark hallway, I'd be like, there's zombies behind that door. Ah!
So you just watched Futurama. That's the only thing I remember putting on there is Futurama.
I watched that. I also watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, which you put on that.
Yes.
Except for the first two episodes because they were both in Spanish with no dubbing. For some reason.
To this day, you have no idea how it started.
I've actually gone back and watched it. And I've been like, oh, that's what they were on about. Okay, that's where he came from.
That's very funny.
So if we pull back, I mean, it is just invasion after invasion after invasion after invasion.
Yeah.
Of the UK.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All these different groups of people bringing in their history, their culture, their influence.
Yeah.
And ultimately making it the England that it is today.
Making Britain the Britain that it is today. Well, you know, and it's interesting that it switches from a physical invasion to, you know, the bit that we jump over is World War II, when Britain refused to be invaded, successfully was uninvaded for once.
Enter the uninvaded.
Don't enter the uninvaded. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, yours made more sense. But now it's like what some would say is the most destructive invasion has been cultural and economic, an invasion of ideas.
Right. And as time moved on, it has become easier and easier to become a worldwide melting pot because of the internet.
Yeah. We should turn off the internet.
I think it would cause a lot of grief for about 5 years.
I thought you were going to say 5 days.
But I think we'd be all the happier for it. We can still keep cell phones.
But just for texting and calling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go back to the emoticon.
Yeah, why not?
Radio broadcasts.
You and I could be on a radio show. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
I like where this is going.
You'd have to tune in. Appointment radio listening every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. That's when the episodes drop.
That's right. That's when we broadcast them live.
Yeah.
Nick, anything else to say about Enter the Uninvited?
Nothing from me. Nothing from me. I think it is a good, strong, solid continuation of this idea of the wandering man.
Yeah. And wherever humanity is, they were specifically not invited to be there.
Pretty much you can safely assume that unless you are indigenous people.
And even them.
Yeah?
No one said that indigenous people had to cross the Bering Strait and come into the Americas. They were uninvited to do so.
So you're going beyond the idea of humans being uninvited to be with other humans. You're
correct.
So you're taking the bold stand here, Omen, that humans should have stayed exactly where they evolved from, and that's it?
I'm not saying they should have. I'm saying that they were not invited to go anywhere else.
Let's talk to your mammologist mother and see how she feels about that.
We'll do that. In the meantime, just remember, if you exist, you shouldn't. Nope. Doesn't make any sense. My cold is hitting me. In the meantime, let's just remember that there is no original culture. Culture is always a melting pot of different influences. And we will expand on some of these topics, or probably forget about them next week, when we talk about Chapter 4, Puer Ferox Adventus?
Question mark.
Wild Child Coming.
That's right. Just really quick before we go, Omen, happy 25-year anniversary. Tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, happy 25-year anniversary of knowing you.
Thank you.
Silver.
You got me a silver podcast. It's the silver podcast anniversary.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I know.
Wow, 25 years.
Yeah.
You haven't aged more than 24.
Thank you, you flatterer.
Until next week, I am both the sheep and the pigs that you have counted, Omen Thomas Sade.
I am a bubblegum and a Google bum. I am Nick McGill.
We are the cocaine in your cola, the feckless momes.
And this is just a pair of conkers, the feckless momes.
It's been a while. It's been a while since that happened.
Patrons, we just recorded a closing sketch for the last episode, and I forgot to hit record.
Yeah.
I'm glad I noticed it there,
the
though.
Best one that we've ever done.
You'll never know. It's like the song Tribute. We'll tell you about the best sketch in the world, but we'll never be able to reproduce it.
And that's what we should include at the end of that episode.
Love it.
Really?
Perfect. Yeah, why not?
Okay,
yes.
It wasn't that. It was okay.
It was okay.
It was pretty good.